I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? Because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel.
Would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. We're a failing nation.
Donald Trump had quite the outburst on Truth Social today, marking what seems to be a record moment in his current campaign. We all know that Trump can't stay silent for too long, and today he decided to post an outrageous video that, as usual, has sparked controversy and backlash. This incident is a perfect example of how, whenever Trump speaks or shares something, it often tends to backfire, particularly when it comes to addressing his own record. This video serves as a glaring reminder of the damage he inflicted on both our democracy and our economy during his presidency. It's something he would prefer the public forget, but it remains crucial to our understanding of what he's trying to sell now. The Trump campaign often asks the question, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? The answer unequivocally is yes. 4 years ago, Trump was mismanaging a pandemic that was claiming around 3,000 American lives every single day. He seemed largely indifferent to the suffering it caused, and that's a fact that continues to resonate deeply with voters today. In the face of this ongoing narrative, it's clear that Trump's attempts to shift the blame and divert attention from his record are struggling. We'll dive deeper into the specifics shortly, but first I'd like to ask you all to take a moment to like this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do. It really means a lot and helps us build this movement together. Now back to Trump. He's been trying to push a message of strength and success, but it's simply not resonating, especially after Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a powerful critique of his instability. In her remarks, she characterized Trump as increasingly unhinged. The troubling implication of her statement is that should he secure a second term, the individuals who once served as checks on his behavior would no longer be there to rein him in. People like John Kelly and others, who once tried to guide him, would be absent, and that raises serious questions about what a second Trump presidency would look like. The critical question we'll face in just 13 days is, what do the American people really want? It's essential to remember that context as we explore Trump's video. He's trying to convince us that his previous administration was a resounding success and that a future term would be even better. However, that argument falls apart when we consider the reality of his presidency. Harris's insights are particularly relevant here. Trump's vision is not only misguided, it's dangerous. He had his chance, and we saw the consequences of his decisions. The fear is that, if he were to regain power, he would be surrounded by his supporters and extremists who would further enable his worst impulses. Without checks and balances, the potential for chaos and harm grows exponentially. In his latest video, Trump throws out questions about the Biden-Harris administration's efforts on key issues like border security and job creation. He claims they haven't made any progress, but the truth is, the Biden administration has achieved significant milestones, including historic job growth, a rising stock market, and substantial investments in American infrastructure. Crime rates have decreased, and initiatives have been launched to lower the cost of prescription drugs. These are the successes that the Trump campaign conveniently ignores while they focus on misleading rhetoric. Trump also has the audacity to suggest that he has a plan, yet he fails to acknowledge his own past failures. His administration didn't solve the border crisis or create the jobs he promised. Instead, he was more focused on inflammatory rhetoric and division than on actual solutions. The facts speak for themselves, and Americans are increasingly aware of his record. Moreover, former President Barack Obama recently pointed out the hypocrisy in Trump's attacks on Kamala Harris. Trump often tries to divert attention by saying, while you were vice president, you had 4 years to do something. But let's not forget, Trump was in the Oval Office for 4 years himself. He had the same opportunities to address these issues but failed to do so. Trump's approach to immigration policy was a disaster, one rooted in fear and division, rather than compassion and practical solutions. During his time in office, the number of undocumented immigrants remained roughly the same as when he took office. This is not the mark of effective leadership. It's the sign of a leader who is more interested in playing politics than solving real problems. The former Defense Secretary, Mark Esper, has shed light on another troubling aspect of Trump's character. Esper revealed that Trump had a distaste for public displays of wounded veterans, suggesting that they should be concealed rather than celebrated. This attitude underscores Trump's fundamental misunderstanding of sacrifice and the valor of those who serve our nation. He seems more focused on his image than on honoring those who have given so much for our country. This is a crucial point. Trump often seeks credit for accomplishments he hasn't achieved while simultaneously evading accountability for his failures. His approach is self-serving, and it perpetuates a cycle of blame rather than fostering genuine leadership and progress. It's all about him, and that mentality poses a significant risk for our country. Adding to the absurdity, Eric Swalwell recently called attention to Trump's bizarre statements in a new ad. The irrationality of Trump's remarks about immigration and his extreme views have become increasingly alarming. When he talks about issues, he often sounds disconnected from reality, making claims that seem almost delusional. And speaking of media coverage, it's essential to address how some outlets defend Trump's erratic behavior. For instance, there are attempts to paint his comments as mere frustrations of a businessman, failing to recognize the deeper implications of what he's saying. It's alarming to think he admires historical figures known for their authoritarian tendencies. We must remain vigilant against the normalization of Trump's behavior and rhetoric. His desire for unchecked power poses a real threat to the democratic principles we hold dear. We cannot allow ourselves to become desensitized to the chaos he brings. This is why it's critical to keep raising our voices and standing up for what's right. We need to ensure that the narrative surrounding Trump is accurately represented. It's not just about what he's saying now, it's about the broader implications of his past actions and statements. His desire to avoid accountability and his reckless approach to governance should be front and center in our discussions. In closing, if you want to support our efforts to hold Trump accountable and shine a light on the truth, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. Every bit helps us push back against misinformation and advocate for a better future. If you've made it this far, drop a blue heart in the comments to show your support. Until next time, take care, and let's keep fighting for the values we believe in.